After dying from overwork, I was reborn. As soon as I opened my eyes, I was met with a pair of pitiful eyes. My cousin Thea Sue, dressed in a plain white dress, stood at my doorstep with a large suitcase. This is 1 month before the college entrance examination. My cousin Thea Sue used the excuse that my house is close to her school and came to my house. "Thea, why didn't you let Uncle know in advance that you were coming? Uncle would have picked you up." My dad pushed me aside, pulled Thea Sue into the house, and then moved into my room, rubbing my arm that was hurt by my dad. I squinted my eyes. How did I do it in my past life? The painful memories come back easily. My proud self was unwilling to give up the room, and I had a big fight with my dad, enduring a slap from him. As a result, my mom had a huge argument with my dad, and their already troubled relationship was on thin ice. Not only that, but next, Thea Sue was being all flirty with my boyfriend Soren Jong. I, unwilling to accept that Thea Sue took everything from me, had no heart to study and was solely focused on how to make Thea Sue leave my home and my boyfriend. As a result, I, who had excellent grades since childhood, performed poorly and could only get into a vocational college with my college entrance exam scores. Then, my parents got divorced, and I went to live with my dad. Thea Sue framed me for pushing her down the stairs, and I was kicked out of my home by my dad. Thea Sue married Soren Jong, who comes from a similarly affluent background, with the dowry of 10 million given by my father. After graduating from university, I couldn't find a suitable job and ended up on the factory assembly line, working myself to death. After being reborn, I voluntarily gave up the bedroom and moved into the attic on the 3rd floor. It's not because I'm afraid, but because I want to seize the opportunity of the college entrance examination. My experiences in my past life have taught me that being strong is the most important thing. I am the only one living on the 3rd floor, which is very quiet. I study until late at night every day. I pretend not to notice the various little actions between Thea Sue and Soren Jong. Finally, the college entrance examination is over, and I was snatched up by Tsinghua and Peking University with high scores. In the end, I chose Tsinghua. It wasn't until I received the admission notice from Tsinghua that my anxious heart finally settled. I pushed open the attic window and let out a breath of stale air. Now, it's time to settle the score with Thea Sue, Soren Jong, and my dad. When I went downstairs, I happened to see Thea Sue snuggled up in Soren Jong's arms, smiling shyly. Upon seeing me, Soren Jong pushed Thea Sue away and walked towards me. "Kaya, you finally came down. You were so busy studying recently that you didn't pay attention to me. Now you have to spend some time with me," Soren Jong said as he reached out to pull me. I took a step back, creating distance between him and me. "But it seems like you have someone with you." I looked meaningfully at Thea Sue. After a moment of awkwardness, Soren Jong regained his composure and said nonchalantly, "Kaya, what are you thinking? The reason I get along with Thea Sue is just because she is your cousin." The unkind words made Thea Sue's face turn pale. I smiled happily. I am in a marriage of convenience with Soren Jong, which was arranged since childhood, so in my past life, I always treated Soren Jong as my future husband, and it was only when Thea Sue took Soren Jong away that I couldn't accept it. At this point in my past life, despite my strong objections, Soren Jong and Thea Sue were already deeply in love, and now, perhaps because I am no longer the catalyst, Soren Jong is still secretly dating Thea Sue behind my back. Collaborating with Soren Jong to perform will certainly make Thea Sue uncomfortable, but it makes me even more disgusted. How can I quickly dissolve my engagement with Soren Jong? In my contemplation, I quickly had an idea. I looked at Soren Jong with deep affection and said, "Since I will eventually marry you, why don't we get married now?" "Married?" Thea Sue was the first to exclaim. "What, cousin, are you unwilling? Or do you want to replace me and marry Soren?" The words that struck at her heart made Thea Sue tremble her lips. Not knowing what to say, Soren Jong's expression was also a bit awkward. Obviously, he hasn't enjoyed the pleasure of playing both sides enough yet. So, I added fuel to the fire. "Soren, I got into Tsinghua University. If Auntie finds out, she will definitely be very happy." "Did you really get into Tsinghua?" Soren Jong's eyes lit up, after I nodded. A look of ecstasy appeared on his face. "Wait for me. I'm going back to tell my mom right now." The Zhong family made their fortune in the coal mining business a few years ago. Although the coal business later declined, they still had a solid financial foundation and invested in some other ventures. Although their family is wealthy, none of them have succeeded in their studies. The highest degree in their family is Soren Zhong. He is 3 years older than me. And after graduating from high school, he didn't attend university and went straight into society. Therefore, the Zhong family is often secretly criticized by others, saying they are just a family of upstarts who can't hold their own. The less they have, the more they love to show off. Zhong's mother boasts about my good grades wherever she goes. Now that I have been admitted to Tsinghua University, she must hope that I can marry into the Zhong family soon. As soon as Soren Zhong left my house, Thea Su couldn't hold back any longer. Kneeling in front of me, holding her stomach, she said, "Kaya, I'm sorry, I'm pregnant with Soren Zhong's child. I know, after all, the safety helmet that Soren Zhong and Thea Su used was the one I had punctured with a needle in advance." My firm words made Thea Su's sobs stop abruptly. "How did you know?" I curled my lips but said nothing, then lifted my foot to go upstairs. "It seems there's going to be a tough battle this afternoon. I need to get some rest and recharge my energy." Bang bang bang, I was woken up by the violent knocking on the door. Immediately, my dad's angry voice came from outside the door, locking the door at home, spending all day either studying or sleeping. "I must have raised a pig. You should learn from your cousin. She gets up early every day to cook," and, furrowing my brows, I walked straight to the door and opened it. Seeing my expressionless face, my dad's incessant chatter came to a halt. Instead, his face turned angry. "You little brat, dare to look at me with that kind of expression." As he spoke, his hand was about to hit me. I quickly walked downstairs, leaving him with an empty shot. Downstairs, Zhong's parents and Soren Zhong were laughing happily. This smile was magnified several times when they saw me. Thea Su, who was serving tea and water, had tears in her eyes. It seems that Soren Zhong's family still doesn't know that Thea Su is pregnant. TSK. I thought Thea Su was quite capable. I didn't expect that I would have to personally expose this matter. "Uncle, aunt," I walked up to Zhong's mother. Zhong's mother immediately saw the Tsinghua admission notice in my hand and took it to look at it again and again. Then she handed the admission notice to Zhong's father and turned to hold my hand. "Our Kaya is just excellent. Auntie loves you to death." When my dad came down, she couldn't wait to say to him, "In-laws, Soren is already in his 20s. And Kaya is also an adult. How about we hold the wedding first and get the certificate later? The Zhong family's strength is above my family's." After listening to Zhong's mother's words, my dad temporarily set aside his dissatisfaction with me and forced a smile. "Of course it's good. So, when do you think we should set the date?" Seeing that Zhong's parents and my dad had already started discussing the date for my marriage to Soren Zhong, I found it ridiculous. My mom is still at the company and hasn't come back. They are blatantly disregarding her. Looking over at Thea Su, her eyes are fixed intently on Soren Zhong. Soren Zhong, who would usually melt at a smile from Thea Su, is now sitting upright, completely ignoring her hints. TSK. In the face of, their love seems to mean nothing. Otherwise, let's set it for next month, and have the wedding before Kaya starts school. I think that's fine. Zhong's father and mother hit it off with my dad, and at this moment, I spoke up. "Uncle, auntie, I also want to marry Soren." But, as I said this, I looked at Thea Su with a accusing gaze, feeling wronged, and said, "But she actually seduced Soren behind my back and got pregnant with Soren's child." My words stunned everyone present. "Kaya, are you mistaken? She's your cousin." I wish I were mistaken, but she told me this in person not long ago. At this moment, the eye drops I had prepared could finally be released. Tears fell with a plop. I lowered my head pretending to cry, but my peripheral vision was on Thea Su. Among the 3 brothers of the Su family, only my father passed the college entrance exam and married my mother. He used my mother's family's influence to establish the Su group, but the main power in the group was my mother, and my father was just a nominal president. My dad's older brother and younger brother's families, although they have been living much better with my dad's subtle help, cannot be compared to our family at all. Thea Su has envied me since she was young. I've already said it this way, if Thea Sue still doesn't seize this opportunity to marry into a wealthy family, I will look down on her. Fortunately, this time, she didn't let me down. Thea Sue, who was being stared at by everyone, knelt in front of Jong's father and mother, uncle and aunt. Soren and I truly love each other. Before Jong's father and mother could react, Soren Jong had already stood up impatiently. I clearly took safety measures. How could you be pregnant? One sentence confirmed this matter. Soren, I also don't know how this happened. Didn't you say you didn't like Kyasu at all, that she was dull and wooden, and that you would break off the engagement with her and be with me sooner or later? You also said, shut up, impatient. Soren Jong slapped Thea Sue across the face. In the next second, Jong's father kicked Soren Jong in the stomach. You scoundrel, you've disgraced our Jong family. What are you hitting your son for? Jong's mother protested. It's clearly that bitch Thea Sue who seduced my son. She's the one who should be beaten. Jong's mother grabbed Thea Sue's hair. My dad hurried to stop her, in a fit of anger. Jong's mother even scratched my dad. Afraid of getting his face scratched, my dad took a step back. And then Thea Sue was pinned to the ground and beaten by Jong's mother. Thea Sue suddenly clutched her stomach. Child, my child. A streak of crimson flowed from Thea Sue's legs to the floor. Afraid of being implicated in a manslaughter case, Jong's mother hurriedly stopped and called 120. Half an hour later, Thea Sue was lifted onto the ambulance. Jong's father, Jong's mother, Soren Jong, and my dad hurriedly followed behind. I sat on the sofa in the living room, watching a few figures walking towards the door, a cold smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Just at that moment, a gloomy gaze swept over. It was my dad. He suddenly turned around and caught the smile on my face. I instinctively suppressed my smile, but soon realized that I was no longer the weak and incompetent version of myself that he had suppressed in my past life. I raised my head and smiled boldly at my dad, seeing my provocative gaze for the first time. My dad was filled with anger, as if he wanted to come back and settle the score with me. Unfortunately, the ambulance outside couldn't wait, so he could only get on the ambulance and leave. Not long after the ambulance left, my mom came back. She was dressed in a fitted professional outfit, her hair styled up. Although she was in her 40s and had fine lines at the corners of her eyes, she still exuded charm. Only her hair was slightly disheveled, clearly indicating that she was in a hurry to return. Kaya. My aunt told me something happened. What happened? Busy with her career, her tone was somewhat cold, but her eyes were full of concern. Unfortunately, I didn't see this concern in my past life. At that time, I never thought that my mom worked so hard for me. I just felt that my mom only cared about working and making money, and didn't love me at all. I have been rebellious since I was young, always going against my mom, even when my mom gave up the Sue group and divorced my dad. The only condition was to take me with her. Out of unwillingness to lose to Thea Sue, I resolutely chose to stay with my dad. In the end, my disappointed mom wanted nothing, left with nothing, and went abroad. Thinking about it, my nose couldn't help but feel sour. Mom, I threw myself into her arms, holding her tightly. Mom, you finally came back. I was rarely close to my mother in my previous life. Since my rebirth, we have become much closer, however. Compared to ordinary mother-daughter relationships, there is still some distance. My mother's body stiffened first, then she relaxed and awkwardly patted my back. Kaya, have you been wronged? I nodded and told her about what happened today. Soren Jong and Thea Sue are actually secretly together, and they even have a child. This is too much, my mom said angrily. I'm going to find them and settle the score. The Jong family and the eldest son's family must give me an explanation today. Saying this, my mom pulled me out the door. Drive me to the hospital. When we arrived at the hospital, Thea Sue was lying on the bed, barely alive. Jong's father, Jong's mother, Soren Jong, and my dad were all in the ward. The other three looked pale. Only my dad was concerned about Thea Sue, asking her how she was doing. Thea, does it hurt? Are you hungry? If you're feeling unwell, tell your uncle, my child. Thea Sue touched her belly and cried. My dad's tone became gentler. The child is fine. You just need to take care of your health now. Don't worry about anything else. Thank you, uncle. My mom, unable to listen any longer, directly pushed open the hospital room door and sarcastically remarked, "You weren't this considerate when dealing with Kaya. If I didn't know better, I'd think Thea Sue wasn't your niece. But your illegitimate daughter. My mom is simply my mouthpiece, saying everything I want to say." Unsurprisingly, my dad got angry too. He, who has no real ability in his career, loves to outdo my mom when it comes to temper. Zheng Yunru, what are you talking about? I've seen this kind of dad many times. But this time, I caught a glimpse of something on my dad's face that I had never noticed before, a hint of guilt. I looked at my dad, then at Thea Sue on the bed. A bold idea rose in my heart. Am I talking nonsense? Thea Sue even dares to snatch Kaya's fiancé, so shamelessly, and you still protect her. Do you even consider us mother and daughter? Thea Sue is just still young and doesn't understand. Besides, she is not just anyone, she is my niece. Seeing that the two were about to erupt into a battle, I hurriedly grabbed my mom's hand. Mom, my mom, coming back to her senses, took a deep breath, temporarily suppressing her anger towards my dad, and turned to look at Mr. and Mrs. Zhong. Mr. and Mrs. Zhong, who were originally watching the play, suddenly tensed up. In-law, don't call me in-law. Since your son doesn't know how to behave, let's just call off this marriage. Before Mr. and Mrs. Zhong could express their stance, my dad rushed out. What a pity to let it go. Why not let Thea replace Kaya and marry Soren instead? That won't do. Zhong's mother immediately widened her eyes. Kaya got into Tsinghua University. What about Thea Sue? She went to some unknown university, probably from the countryside. Our Zhong family wouldn't want a daughter-in-law like that. In my opinion, just let Thea Sue get rid of the child in her belly and go back to the countryside. Let's treat this matter as if it never happened. We can't let a cheap person affect the harmony between our two families. Right, in-laws. Zhong's mother looked at my mom. My mom glanced at my dad's pale face. She gently patted my hand and then slowly said, "This isn't impossible either." Seeing my mom relent, Zhong's mother let out a big sigh of relief. Since that's the case, I'll have the doctor prepare for the abortion surgery. With that, Zhong's mother planned to make arrangements. Thea Sue, who had originally been lying in bed and struggling to speak, suddenly jumped out of bed and hugged Soren Zhong's leg, saying, "Soren, can you really do this to me?" "Boo-hoo-hoo," she cried with tears like pear blossoms. Soren Zhong showed a struggle on his face. Seeing this, Zhong's mother became furious. "You shameless hussy, don't touch my son." Saying this, she went to pull Thea Sue. At that moment, two figures rushed in. "If you bully my daughter, I'll fight you to the death." The ones who rushed in are Thea Sue's parents. They obviously just got the news and rushed over. Seeing Thea Sue being bullied, they immediately pushed Zhong's mother aside and started hitting. Zhong's father also joined the fight. Thea Sue's parents are used to farm work. They are strong, and Zhong's parents are no match for them. Seeing his parents being beaten and crying out, Soren Zhong rushed in. The six of them rolled into a ball on the ground. Puh! I couldn't help but laugh out loud. The laughter caught my dad's attention, and he strode towards me, looking fierce. "Kaya Sue, you are going too far. If it weren't for you, how could things have developed to this point?" "Me, what does it have to do with me? Isn't it Thea Sue who is shameless?" "Shut up, I won't." "How come? Could it be true what my mom said, that Thea Sue isn't your niece, but your illegitimate daughter?" As my words fell, my father's face turned livid with anger. "Nonsense. Today I must teach you a good lesson." With that, my father raised his hand to me. My mother instinctively shielded me behind her. "How dare you?" "Why wouldn't I dare, Zheng Yunru? If you try to stop me, do you believe I will beat you up too, ha?" The cold voice of the young man carried a hint of mockery, coming from outside the hospital room. "It's really funny. This is the first time I've seen a father who can't stand to see his own daughter do well." I turned around and saw a face that was both strange and familiar. The boy's features are exquisite, with distinct contours. Exceptionally handsome. The scratches at the corners of his eyes and the blood at the corners of his mouth not only did not diminish his handsomeness, but instead added a few touches of allure. Only his eyes show a clear hostility, full of ferocity. He is my high school classmate, Qin Ju. After graduating from high school, I haven't seen many of my high school classmates. The reason I feel he is familiar is that I happened to see him once before my rebirth. At that time, I was getting off work step by step, but I was stopped by two men on the road. It was Chin-ju who appeared in a luxury car. He simply honked the horn. And the two men were so scared that they ran away. I thanked Chin-ju, and he said, "No need to thank me, old classmate." Only then did I dig up a few fragments of memories about Chin-ju from the depths of my memory. While feeling grateful, I also felt quite embarrassed. My high school classmates are doing very well. While I pull back my wandering thoughts and look at the face in front of me again, he is not as composed as he was before I was reborn. He seems much more immature. But he is still handsome. What do you think you are? Who are you, a little brat, to meddle in my family's affairs? Today, I'm going to teach my daughter a lesson. Being mocked by outsiders, my dad, who has a very strong sense of pride, feels even more embarrassed. Roll up your sleeves and get ready to hit me. My mom protected me in front of her, and his slap didn't stop. He actually plans to hit my mom too. I went to stop my dad's slap, but one hand got in front of me and firmly restrained my dad's arm. It is Chin-ju. My dad, filled with anger, wanted to teach Chin-ju a lesson as well, but his hand was stopped by Chin-ju and couldn't move at all. The two were at a standstill. Chin-ju looked relaxed, while my dad's face turned the color of pig liver. Eventually, the medical staff noticed the commotion and rushed into the ward to mediate. My dad took the opportunity to retract his hand and turned to look at Thea Su. I turned around to thank Chin-ju, but found that he had already turned and left. At the end of the long corridor, his figure was thin. Loneliness surrounds. Half an hour later, under the comfort of the hospital staff, the people present reluctantly quieted down, except for my dad, who seems to care about Thea Su on the surface but is actually detached. Everyone else has a disheveled appearance, looking chaotic and embarrassed. The Jong family's chins are held high, exuding arrogance. Thea Su's parents, on the other hand, have their heads down, feeling anxious. Their biggest dream is to have Thea Su marry into a wealthy family, and just now, the wealthy family was being beaten down by them. The child in Thea Su's belly must be aborted, Father Jong said angrily. Mother Jong echoed, "Even if I die, I will never let Thea Su marry into our family. How can that be?" Father Su was unhappy. "Your Soren Jong has gotten our Thea Su pregnant. If you don't take responsibility, we will go to your company and make a scene to let everyone judge." Father Su's words made Father Jong and Mother Jong's faces look grim. 200,000. That's a human life. You want to buy a life for 200,000. You, Jong's father interrupted Su's mother. 500,000. This time, as soon as he finished speaking, Su Dachiang and Liu Maifang hurriedly nodded. Deal. On the hospital bed, Thea Su directly fainted. It's really fainting. Unfortunately, even if she faints, she cannot escape the fate of being on the operating table. After dealing with Su Dachiang's family, the exhausted Jong father and mother looked at my mom and said, "In-law, once Thea Su's baby is gone, how about letting Soren marry Kaya?" My mother's eyes flickered slightly. "That depends on how your Soren performs. Don't worry, if Soren messes around in the future, I'll break his legs." Jong's mother pulled Soren Jong over. Soren Jong nodded absently in agreement. His eyes kept glancing in the direction where Thea Su was being taken away. I didn't chat much with Jong's mother. My mom took me away. In the car, my mom asked me while driving, "What do you think about the marriage with Soren Jong?" "I don't care for that kind of scumbag. Just thinking about Soren Jong makes me feel disgusted. Disgusting to the point of physical discomfort. Cheating is cowardly and irresponsible. He has no redeeming qualities at all. In my past life, I must have been blinded by pig fat to compete with Thea Su for a pile of dog poop." My words eased my mother's furrowed brow a little. "So what do you want to do now?" "I want to break off the engagement with Soren Jong. Dragging things out with Soren Jong for a while will certainly hurt both Soren Jong and Thea Su more, but just thinking about Soren Jong's fiancé title makes me feel disgusted. Mom, if Thea Su's baby is aborted, won't the Jong family continue to cling to me? I shared my worries with my mom. She smiled at me reassuringly. Don't worry, leave it to Mom. When I got home, my mom first called Jong's mother. Mother-in-law, has the child in Thea Sue's belly been aborted? Not yet. The doctor said to wait until she wakes up to check her condition before performing the surgery. I think Thea Sue, that slut, is clearly faking it. That's right. Who could be a good person if they can seduce their sister's boyfriend? Mother-in-law, don't be soft at a critical moment. Soren can still have children. After Soren marries Kaya, they can have 10 or 8 of them. After ending the call with Jong's mother, my mom looked at me. Before I could ask, she stated to me, Soren Jong is an only child. Jong's parents went through a lot of effort to have this child, and it is said that there were issues on Jong's father's side, so Jong's mother might not let Thea Sue go under the knife considering the issue of carrying on the family line. My eyes lit up, my mom smiled and tapped my forehead. Smart. In this way, the Jong family will have no face to cling to us, and even if Thea Sue can give birth to a child, the Jong family will not look down on her. Hearing this, I looked at my mother with admiration. Mom, you're amazing. My mother smiled and hugged me, gently stroking my head. My daughter, no one can bully. Feeling my mother's warm embrace, my nose couldn't help but tingle. My mom said this in a past life too. How did I respond? I said, if you really don't want me to be bullied, you should help me get Soren Jong back. But Kaya, Soren Jong isn't worth it. No matter if it's worth it or not, I just like him. I feel like I'm possessed, and my only wish is to separate Thea Sue and Soren Jong. Unable to resist, my mom shamelessly went to find Mr. and Mrs. Jong, but they looked down on her. That's right, Soren Jong has treated me like this, and I still don't want to let go. With a daughter like me, my mom must be looked down upon, right? Kaya, what's wrong? Sensing my emotional fluctuations, my mom asked with concern. I buried myself in my mom's arms and said, Mom, I feel like my dad doesn't deserve to be my dad. It was as if my mother and father were always separated by something, just like how I wasn't close enough to them before. Usually, my mother is busy with work, while my father spends my mother's money everywhere to show off. Looking back now, their relationship had long been problematic. My mother only stayed with my father for my sake, but now, I see clearly that I can do without a father who doesn't care about or pay attention to me. I hope my mom can propose to divorce my dad, but she didn't. She just held me tightly for a long time before letting out a sigh. Although a bit disappointed, it is also understandable. After all, my mom proposed divorce to my dad a year later in my last life. And by then I was already driven to mental breakdown by Soren Jong, Thea Sue, and my dad. She was completely disappointed in my dad and wanted to take me away. And now, aside from supporting Thea Sue, my dad doesn't seem to have any other unforgivable actions. Although I really want to get rid of my dad as soon as possible, I know that some things cannot be rushed. In the afternoon, my mom went out to prepare for my graduation banquet. I called all the servants from the villa and instructed, throw away all of Thea Sue's things. Yes, I had tolerated Thea Sue for a while before to focus on my studies. From now on, I will no longer give anyone the chance to hurt me. After Thea Sue's belongings were all thrown out, the maid cleaned my room, and I moved back from the attic. In the evening, my mom came back first, and then my dad returned. Seeing us, his expression was no longer arrogant, but rather a bit awkward. He walked up to my mom, holding her hand. I was also very angry at the hospital during the day. Please don't be mad at me. Even when he knows he has done something wrong, my dad usually won't apologize. Now he definitely has ulterior motives. My mom pulled her hand away, her expression indifferent. Looking at you like this. Thea Sue's baby hasn't been aborted, being directly exposed for what he was thinking. My dad felt a bit awkward. Soren Jong had a checkup, and it was found that he has low sperm count. So it might be difficult for him to have children in the future. This is just an unfortunate situation. So what? My mom stared fixedly at my dad. Faced with my mom's calmness, my dad's guilt turned into anger. It's Kaya's own fault for not being likable to Soren Jong. Since Thea is already pregnant with Soren's child, it would be better to give the marriage to Thea. My mom also has a strong temper and immediately turned serious. Sujin-nan, I don't care about this marriage. But what do you mean? What do you mean by Kaya not being likable? In your eyes, is your niece Thea Sue the only one who is likable, isn't it? My dad stood up, slapping the table. He pointed at me. Look at her, she looks like I owe her millions. How is that likable? Unlike Thea, who would serve me tea, ask about my well-being, and would, shut up, my mom said angrily, her chest heaving up and down. Worried that my mom might get too upset, I hurriedly stepped forward to calm her down. Mom, let's not get angry, it's fine if Dad doesn't care about me. After all, I still have you. Seeing my worry, my mom took a deep breath and tried to suppress the anger inside her. Ignoring Su Junnan, she pulled my hand and went upstairs. Upstairs, she looked at me and said, "Your dad." She wanted to say something, but the words were stuck in her throat and she couldn't get them out. I held my mom's hand and said, "Mom, in my heart, I don't have a dad. From childhood to now, my dad has never cared about me, never taken care of me, never attended my parent-teacher meetings, never. He has not participated in any of the big or small things in my life. In fact, he has no affection for me at all, only disdain. But he is different with Thea Sue. In front of Thea Sue, he acts like a father. Sometimes I even feel." Thinking of that inner suspicion, I gritted my teeth and said, "I think Thea Sue is his daughter, and I am the stumbling block who has taken her place." "Kaya," my mom exclaimed in shock at my words. "I can assure you, you are your father's child. As for Thea Sue, your dad is selfish and has always wanted to drain me to support his two brothers. He fundamentally thinks that he and his two brothers are family, and that I am an outsider. He places you in the same position as me, which is why he treats you. Thea Sue is definitely not your dad's child. Don't worry, your dad doesn't care for you, but Mom will love you twice as much." Hearing this, I nodded and didn't dwell on the issue any longer. Instead I spoke up and said, "My dad means for Thea Sue to marry Soren Jong. The Jong parents accepted her because Thea Sue is pregnant. If that's the case, it's too easy on Thea Sue." "Of course not, I know the Jong parents too well. They are probably thinking of having Thea Sue secretly give birth to the child, and then have you and Soren Jong raise it, while they let your dad come back as a negotiator. But how could your dad bear to let his precious niece suffer such humiliation? So this time he came back to ask me to step in and persuade the Jong parents to let Thea Sue marry into the Jong family. I wouldn't be that stupid. After arguing with your dad like that, he probably won't be able to bring it up." After hearing what my mom said, I couldn't help but give her a thumbs up. My mom is amazing. "Of course," my mom said with a proud look. "Your graduation banquet is set for 3 days from now. I'll send you the hotel address on WeChat shortly. For these few days, just focus on inviting your classmates to your graduation banquet, and leave the other matters to Mom. On the day of the graduation banquet, I will publicly announce that you and Soren Jong have cancelled your engagement." "Okay, Mom." Back in my room, I still felt a bit confused. My mom's abilities are even more outstanding than I thought. She is so smart that she can be certain Thea Sue is not my dad's child. Could it be that I really guessed wrong about this? I shook my head and temporarily put this question out of my mind. I took out my phone and sent invitations for the graduation banquet to a few close friends. In the end, I thought of Chin Ju. He is my classmate. During high school, I had very little impression of him. In my impression, he always sat in the last row of the classroom, either sleeping or playing on his phone during class, and the teacher couldn't be bothered to manage him. He often got into fights and frequently had his parents called by the teacher. He was a typical rebellious student, but because he was handsome, his drawer was always stuffed with love letters. It's just those love letters that he never even touched, regularly thrown into the trash can. My interactions with him are pitifully few, but in this life and the last, he has helped me twice. After a moment of hesitation, I still sent a message to Chin Ju. Since I'm not very familiar with him, my tone is relatively polite. "My graduation banquet is in 3 days. May I ask if you are free?" I didn't expect the other party to reply so quickly, just a simple word, "Good." A few friends with good relationships, regardless of how well they did on the exams, are having their graduation parties in the next few days. That day, I got ready to go out, and my dad, sitting on the sofa, looked me up and down, his eyes sharp. "Kaya, is there something?" My tone was indifferent, frowning in displeasure. My dad said, "Your cousin is still lying in the hospital recovering. How can you still think about going out to have fun?" according to you, since your cousin is still lying in the hospital. How can you have the mind to drink tea at home? I think you should be by her side in the hospital without leaving." My unceremonious retort made my dad's expression turn sour. "Isn't it because I stayed up late last night that I can't hold on today?" Oh, I was in a hurry to leave and didn't want to waste any more words with him. When I reached the door, my dad's voice came again. "Remember to take some time to visit your cousin. I'm afraid that asking me to see Thea Sue is a pretext. And the real intention is to have Thea Sue do some ideological work on me." Ignoring his words, I stepped out, after attending my friend's graduation banquet. On the way back, I had the driver take a detour to the hospital. When I arrived at the hospital, Thea Sue was sitting on the bed eating fruit fed to her by Su Daqiang and Liu Maifang. Our Thea is really amazing. It seems like she's going to marry into a wealthy family sooner or later. What's the use of Kaya Sue being good at studying if she can't even keep a man? When you marry Soren Jong, have your uncle give you more dowry. The three of them were calculating with a clatter. I pushed the door open at the right moment and went in, but just now, Aunt Jong called me and told me that Soren will absolutely never marry Thea Sue. Once Thea Sue has the baby, she will be sent back to the countryside. My words caused the expressions of several people in the room to change dramatically. "Kaya, given the circumstances, even if you marry Soren Jong, you can only have his body, not his heart." At this moment, Liu Meifang's smugness completely disappeared, replaced by a face full of anguish. "Kaya, you have been lucky since childhood, lacking nothing. Thea is different. Can you please not compete with her for Soren?" As Liu Meifang spoke, Thea Sue was already in tears. "Kaya, for the sake of being your sister, can you please let me go?" Su Daqiang's attitude remained strong. "Kaya, even if you refuse to cancel the engagement with Soren, your father will find a way to have Thea Sue marry Soren. If you don't let go now, the one who will be embarrassed later will only be you." This family of three sings in harmony, using both soft and hard approaches. If it were the kind and weak me from my past life, I would have probably thought it was my own problem long ago. "But, what do you mean by letting you go? It was Thea Sue who shamelessly seduced my fiancé and got pregnant with his child. I must have been incredibly unlucky to get involved with people like you. I tell you, Thea Sue, no matter what means you have, I will not back down from the marriage with Soren Jong. You can give birth to the child, and when the time comes, your child will call me Mom, while you will forever be in the shadows. At most the child will call you Aunt." Upon hearing this, the few people in the room were so angry that they were speechless. Bang! The aunt who had just walked in accidentally broke the bowl at that moment. I'm sorry, I'm clumsy." She hurriedly went to pick up the broken ceramics on the ground and accidentally cut her hand. Unable to watch any longer, I stepped forward. "Let me do it." I squatted down and helped her pick up the broken bowl. After picking it up, I stood up and prepared to throw it into the trash can. As I raised my eyes, my gaze unintentionally fell on the face of the lunch lady. And I could no longer look away. It looks very much like Thea Sue. The assumption that I had originally suppressed resurfaced once again. Noticing that I was staring at her face, the lunch lady quickly lowered her head and said to me, "Thank you, it's nothing." I gently patted her shoulder and casually took a hair from her head. As soon as I walked out of the hospital room, I saw Soren Jong. His expression was very excited. "Kaya, that's great. You don't mind Thea Sue giving birth to my child, and you're willing to be the child's real mother. Don't worry, I will definitely treat you well in the future." As he spoke, his eyes were filled with deep affection as he looked at me. It seems that he heard what I just said in the hospital room. I was simply about to you. How blind was I in my previous life to be unwilling to let Thea Sue take such a thing? "What about Thea Sue?" I deliberately raised my voice. "After she gives birth, just give her some money," Soren Jong said nonchalantly. Inside the room, as Soren Jong's words were spoken, there was another round of exclamations. Thea Sue fainted again. As for whether it's real or fake fainting, I don't care. I looked at Soren Jong expressionlessly and said, "What I just said was just to deliberately provoke Thea Sue. From the moment you got together with Thea Sue, we have had no relationship. Please go back and tell your parents about this, so they don't go around saying that I am the future daughter-in-law of your family. It's quite embarrassing to be associated with people like you. After saying this, I ignored Soranjong's reaction and walked away. The day before the graduation banquet, I returned home with my mom after choosing a dress. Thea Sue and her parents appeared at my house. The three of them were lying on the sofa, eating sunflower seeds and watching TV. The villa was covered with sunflower seed shells and spilled tea. A complete mess. "What are you doing here?" I looked at them. Su Darkyung leaned back on the sofa and said, "What Kaya said, we are family. Thea just got out of the hospital. It's not convenient to delay. If we don't stay here, where else can we go?" At this moment, the servant was coming down with things from upstairs. I focused my gaze and was surprised to find that it was my belongings from my room. Noticing my gaze, Thea Sue innocently said, "Kaya, Uncle said I need a good environment to recover. So it would be better for you to stay in the attic or the guest room." Good fellow, they actually took over my room without even notifying me. I was furious. Just as I was about to speak, my mom beat me to it. "Security, throw this family of three out. You dare. Do you know who I am? I am the older brother of the owner of this villa. If you dare to make a move, I will fire all of you," Su Darkyung said fiercely. However, the security guards completely ignored them. After all, this villa was a dowry given to my mother by my grandparents. The three people who were thrown out sat at the entrance of my villa cursing. I said leisurely, "If you keep shouting, I will call the police." As I spoke, I took out my phone. When I pressed 110, the three of them immediately fell silent. They got up from the ground and left with their few belongings. "Thea Sue," I called out to Thea Sue at this moment. "What else do you want to do?" At this moment, Thea Sue could no longer hold back. She covered her stomach and looked at me with eyes full of vigilance and hatred. "Don't even think about touching my child." "Ha!" I sneered. "Relying solely on the child won't get you into the Jong family. The Jong family values face above all else. Only by making it widely known that you are pregnant with Soranjong's child can the Jong family possibly allow you to enter the family openly. How can you be so kind?" Thea Sue's expression was very touched. "It's not that I'm completely brainless. Soon, she figured it out. Kaya Sue, you did this on purpose. You want the Jong family to be ruined as well." "Yes, I did it on purpose. I've given you the opportunity. It's up to you whether you want it or not." Not long after the Sue family left, my dad came back. In the living room, he had an unprecedented argument with my mom. Because of me, because of Thea Sue. The argument between the two started with Thea Sue seducing Soranjong and extended far beyond that. My dad feels that for so many years, my mom has thought she could make money and has always kept him under her thumb, making him feel very embarrassed. As for my mom, besides feeling that I was wronged, her biggest knot in her heart was my dad's years of emotional abuse. My mom, who has always been elegant and composed, couldn't help but break down emotionally at this moment. "Sujan, you are just useless, just a coward, just a male chauvinist. If you don't protect your wife and children, you are heartless and blind. Zheng Yunru, you are asking for death." My dad raised his hand, ready to hit my mom. Of course, his slap did not land on my mom. In midair, he was stopped by the security guard. "Beat Sujan to death. The harder you hit, the more bonus you get." Next. The living room was filled with Sujan's screams. I have wanted to do this for a long time. Even if I only graduated from a junior college in my past life, it doesn't mean I can't live well through hard work. It is Sujan, Thea Sue, and Soranjong. No matter what job I look for, they will use their power to mess it up. In my last life, I had a miserable existence. Although it was partly due to my own foolishness, I never did anything bad from beginning to end. It was these few bad people who kept forcing me. The moment I was reborn, I wanted to beat Sujan to death, but when I actually did it, I didn't feel any satisfaction in my heart. Because of my mom's face was full of injuries. "Mom," I stepped forward and held my mom's hand, calling out carefully, "Mom is fine." My mom forced a smile at me. It was only when Sujan was beaten to the point of being unable to make a sound that my mom said to the security guard, "Stop." I still felt a bit unwilling to let Sujan go just like that. My mom gently patted my hand and said, "Tomorrow is your graduation banquet. It wouldn't be good if things escalated." Thus, I didn't say anything more. Su Nan was sent to the hospital, and the door of the ward was specially guarded by my mother. At night, the light in my mother's room remained on. Unable to rest easy, I walked to my mother's room and saw her inside, sorting out the photos of her and my father. She first reminisced about the past, then tore them up fiercely. That's right, I only saw the bad side of my father, but I didn't see all that my father and mother had been through together. Noticing my arrival, my mom waved at me. I walked over and nestled in my mom's arms. My mom's voice came from above. When I was going to marry your dad, your grandparents disagreed, saying your dad came from a poor background and lacked personal ability. I was deceived by your dad's sweet words and was determined to marry him. Looking back now, it seems I really made the wrong choice. Mom, everyone makes wrong choices in life, as long as you realize your mistakes in time. And besides, I looked up at my mom. Besides, if you hadn't been with my dad, maybe you wouldn't have such a smart and clever daughter like me. My joking words successfully brought a smile to my mom's face. She looked at me and seriously asked, Kaya, if I divorce your dad, can you accept it? Yes. So will you choose to be with me? Yes. This time, I answered without hesitation. Perhaps my answer gave my mom strength, and her face was once again filled with confidence. After your graduation banquet tomorrow, I will bring up the divorce with him, okay? I hugged my mom and slept with her. I only got up after her breathing became steady. I found a strand of my dad's short hair on the pillow and took it out of the bedroom. Early the next morning, I made an excuse to go out and went to the hospital to get Thea Sue's hair. I then submitted the hair samples from Thea Sue and my dad, as well as from Thea Sue and the lady who delivered food, for paternity testing. After returning home, I set off to the hotel with my mom. As noon approached, the guests arrived one after another. My dad was supposed to be recuperating in the hospital, but he insisted on getting up to attend my graduation banquet. I was a bit worried that he might make a scene at the graduation banquet, but my mom reassured me that my dad is the most vain person, so I relaxed. As my mom had predicted, my dad, who usually wouldn't even spare me a glance, was now beaming with joy, so much so that the bandages on his face couldn't hide his smile. Old Sue, your daughter is really impressive. Of course, follow me. Seeing his miserable state, someone asked with concern, what happened to you? How did you get hurt like this? There was a hint of gloom in his deep eyes, but my dad's smile remained bright. It's just that my daughter got into Tsinghua University, so I drank a bit too much and ended up like this. Hearing this, my mom and I exchanged a glance and couldn't help but chuckle. I have to say, he really knows how to make excuses for himself. This skill of lying with a straight face really has its uses. Guests kept coming in waves, and finally, after my mom had been waiting anxiously, my grandparents arrived. At first, my grandparents were angry because my mom stubbornly married my dad. Over the years, although I have been subtly helping with my mom's career, there has been almost no visible interaction. Every time my mom goes back to see them, they have a stern face. Only when facing me do the two old folks become happy, but actually, I know that they are just using my name to care for my mom, and their concern for me is an extension of that love. Dad, Mom, you finally made it. My mom let out a sigh of relief. My grandparents looked proud and said, if it weren't for the fear of Kaya's graduation party being regrettable, we wouldn't have come. Yes, I'll take you inside. My mom went to help my grandparents. My classmates have also arrived. The Zhong family has also come. And Thea Sue's family has also come. As noon approached, the guests were almost all gathered, but I still hadn't seen Qin Ju's figure. It was only at this moment that I felt I had been a bit reckless. I don't know how Qin Ju's academic performance is, nor do I know which university he got into, so I rashly invited him over like this. Just as I was thinking, a familiar voice suddenly came from above my head. Excuse me, where should I sit? I looked up and happened to meet Qin Ju's beautiful eyes. I'll take you there. As I said this, a smile involuntarily spread across my face. I brought Qin Ju to the table where my high school classmates were sitting. Upon seeing Qin Ju, the few girls who were chatting happily suddenly blushed and fell silent. Kaya, you are really amazing. Even the school heartthrob, who never gets close to anyone, has been invited by you. Hearing this, I just smiled and said nothing. The Su group is not small, and most of the people attending my graduation banquet are business partners. I followed my parents to toast the guests. When it came to the table where the Jong family was seated, someone expressed a question. Why are your in-laws sitting with us? My mother explained, it's like this, Kaya and Soren's engagement has been dissolved. The engagement between the two was just a joke from many years ago and wasn't to be taken seriously. Everyone present is sharp, and no one continued to question. Instead, it was Jong's parents who were unhappy. However, they also held back and did not express their stance. My mom wants to leave some face for the Jong family, but I don't want to. How can one expect a dignified ending after doing something disgraceful? Is there such a good thing in the world? I looked at Thea Su, who was holding her stomach, her expression struggling, as if she was torn about whether to reveal that she was pregnant with Soren Jong's child. So, I took a step towards Soren Jong, who was not far from her. Halfway down the road, suddenly, my foot twisted, and my body fell straight forward, and right in front of me is Thea Su. Just as I was about to crash into Thea Su, I suddenly felt a force around my waist. It was Chin Ju. He hooked my waist. Thank you, standing upright in Chin Ju's arms. I thanked him. Thea Su, still in shock, exploded. She stood up from her chair, holding her stomach, and pointed at me, accusingly saying, Kaya Su, you did this on purpose. You can't stand to see me pregnant with Soren's child and want to take the opportunity to get rid of my baby. As soon as Thea Su spoke, the whole room was in an uproar. Everyone suddenly understood that the reason I broke off my engagement with Soren Jong was that he had gotten involved with my cousin, and they even had a child together. Everyone present cares about their reputation, and many looked at the Jong family with disdain. Mr. and Mrs. Jong care the most about their image, and Mrs. Jong immediately denied. Thea Su, what nonsense are you talking? Our Soren is not someone you can just hook up with. At this point, Thea Su gave up. Auntie, you all know whether the child in my belly is Soren's. If you really refuse to acknowledge it, we can do a paternity test when the child is born. You little slut, I will tear your mouth apart. Seeing the Jong family and the Su family about to fight again, my mom directly had the security guard kick both families out. The scene became quiet again. The eyes of the crowd looking at me were filled with sympathy. Of course, among these people, except for my dad, he had a grim expression on his face, and his eyes looked like they wanted to eat me alive. After the graduation banquet ended, as soon as I got home, my dad exploded. How can you two, mother and daughter, be so vicious? Thea is already pitiful enough for being pregnant with Soren Jong's child and not being recognized by the Jong family. Do you have to drive her to death? But isn't this what she deserves? Kaya Su, don't think I won't dare to teach you a lesson. My dad is striding towards me. The security guards are blocking my way, surrounding me tightly. If you don't want to be beaten to the point of hospitalization, go ahead and make a move. I knew you were no good. Enough. My mom couldn't take it anymore and interrupted my dad. Su Jinan, let's get a divorce. Divorce? Zheng Yunru, are you joking? My dad's tone was filled with shock and disdain. Clearly, in his mind, no matter how he treated my mom and me, my mom would never divorce him. Yes, divorce, my mom said firmly. After a moment of hesitation, my dad sneered, if we're getting divorced, the assets will be split in half. Why should it be split in half with you? What have you contributed to this family besides eating, drinking, and having fun? I said unhappily. My mom replied, all right. I will have the lawyer draft the agreement later. Then it's settled. After my dad went upstairs, my mom looked at me and comforted me, saying, Kaya, since you've decided to get a divorce, it's best to cut ties quickly. Money is something I can earn again, and after all, he is your father. So giving him some money isn't a big deal. My mom made a valid point, so I stayed silent for the time being. Seeing that my mom was fine, I told her I was going out to meet a classmate. I actually went to the hospital. I hope my guess is wrong. That way, to avoid making my mom too sad, I can let Su Jinan get a little bit of the inheritance. When I arrived at the hospital, I successfully obtained the appraisal results. When I opened the appraisal report and saw the results on it, I was so angry that I could hardly catch my breath. I guessed it right. Thea Su is really the child of Su Jianan and that delivery aunt. I immediately took the identification results back to show my mom. My mom, who was originally sad about her decades-long marriage, was engulfed in anger when she found out that the child my dad had with his mistress was 3 years older than me. As expected of my mom, even when angry, she is not consumed by rage and maintains her rationality. She called my grandparents. Tell them about this matter. My grandparents came with my 3 uncles. My dad, who was taking a nap, was dragged out of bed and beaten up by my 3 uncles. He, already injured, was beaten to the point of near death. Then my eldest uncle placed a divorce agreement in front of him and asked him to sign it. When my dad saw that it stated he would leave with nothing, he refused to sign it. My uncle coldly snorted, "Su Jianan, you better think carefully. If you don't sign, I will go report you for bigamy tomorrow and have you thrown in jail. Not only that, but from now on, every time I see someone from the Su family, I will hit them once. You can forget about ever getting ahead in life." It was only then that I realized my dad, with a pale face, signed his name after the matter regarding Thea Su was exposed. At that moment, my parents were completely divorced. From now on, he is no longer my dad. Su Jianan was thrown out of the villa like garbage. I'm so angry. If it weren't for considering Kaya, I would definitely make him go to jail. Several uncles were extremely angry. My mom couldn't care less about her sadness and turned to comfort my grandparents' and uncles' emotions. In the end, my grandparents and uncles felt sorry for my mom and me, insisting on taking us to stay with them for a while. At my grandparents' house, I felt an unprecedented warmth. It was so warm that I never wanted to go back. My mom also thought the villa was unlucky, so she sold it below market price. There was still over a month before the start of Tsinghua University, and my mom asked me, "What are your plans for the next step?" "Mom, I want to intern at the company. Getting rid of the scum, making money is the key. I want to learn how to manage a company early so that I can inherit the family business." After hearing my answer, my mom smiled and said, "Just right, I have the same plan." My mom took me to buy a few sets of professional attire. I put on the professional attire and tied up my long hair. The me in the mirror is confident and flamboyant. No longer the coward of my past life. The next day, I went to the company with my mom. I witnessed my mom giving orders to the HR department, firing everyone that Su Jianan had previously brought into the company. Soon, my mom's phone was bombarded with calls in the president's office. "Sister-in-law, we are relatives after all, but Su Jianan's outrageous actions have nothing to do with me. Sister-in-law, I have already cut ties with Su Jianan. It's hard to find a job now. Could you please not fire me considering our past relationship?" In the face of, Su Jianan's pride in brotherhood is utterly vulnerable. My mom was too lazy to waste time and directly blocked all these people. My mom left me with a senior from a company, and I have a lot to learn every day. Amidst this business, the affairs of the Zhong family and the Su Deqiang family also fell into my ears one by one. It's not that I want to listen, it's just that there are too many scandals in the Zhong family recently, and they are making headlines in the circle. After Thea Su publicly announced at my graduation banquet that she was pregnant with Soren Zhong's child, Zhong's parents, feeling their faces were completely lost, ordered Soren Zhong to stop associating with Thea Su. It's unclear whether it was Soren Zhong's deep affection or Thea Su's tactics, but Soren Zhong continued to secretly mingle with Thea Su behind his parents' backs. When Zhong's mother accidentally discovered this, she was so angry that she was hospitalized. At the Zhong Group, several major cooperation projects fell through due to their disgraceful behavior, resulting in heavy losses. Seeing the company's stock price drop day by day, Zhong's father was in a state of despair, and that's not all. It turns out that Thea Su did not know she was an illegitimate child who could not be seen in public. After learning that the lunch lady was her mother, she scolded Su Jianan and her biological mother for being shameless. In a fit of anger, she directly lost the child in her womb. Without the child, Thea Su no longer had the chance to marry into the Zhong family. Her status in the Su family plummeted. She was no longer proud and began to coax Su Jianan again. After all, Su Jianan has money in his hands. The reason Su Zhanan was able to sign the divorce papers with my mother so decisively back then was that he was afraid of going to jail and afraid of my uncles, and also because he had a considerable amount of secret savings. But how could he, who had grown accustomed to a life of luxury, endure the days when his savings gradually dwindled under the temptation of Su Laosan? Su Zhanan became addicted to gambling. In just a month, millions of investments were lost. Without money to rely on, Su Zhanan could no longer gain the favor of the Su family and was driven out of the house by them. I heard from the neighbors of the villa before that the down-and-out Su Zhanan came to the villa looking for me and my mom, but unfortunately, the villa had long changed ownership, and he couldn't find anyone. Listening again to others discuss the miserable situation of those people, I found that my heart was not greatly moved. I have long been from two different worlds with them. No matter how well or poorly they do in the future, I will strive to become better and better. On the day of Tsinghua's opening, at the school gate, Soren Zhong stopped me. Kaya, I have completely cut ties with Thea Su. We grew up together, childhood sweethearts. Can you forgive me this time? To this end, my mom had a big fight with my dad, and their already troubled relationship was on thin ice. I have some people are like this. They don't cherish what they easily obtain, and they fantasize about what they can't have. Sorry, I won't forgive. Just looking at Soren Zhong one more time feels like a waste of life. I directly bypassed Soren Zhong and walked into the campus. A familiar figure came into view. It was Qin Ju. He was also holding an admission notice. It feels like waiting for me. When he saw me, he walked over and invited me. Would you like to go report together? Sure. I nodded and walked alongside Qin Ju. The past is not to be questioned, and the future is not to be feared. I will eventually become the person I want to be.